Right, we will start now, one more year. It's kind of a continuation of last year's presentation. Now we talk about also about Back to the Future, but we will prefer to Android. So in the next hour, we will follow a number of events, and I want to tell you about the research that we have done. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers and as well as the attendees for the interest and for giving us the opportunity to share knowledge. In previous editions, rooted from last year, or CCN30 December, you know what we did to iOS. So that is to say, we froze the updates of the OS through several attacks, Star Wars, Matrix, etc. And then, well, if you haven't followed it, what happened was that in September, Apple with iOS 8 launched an update where it included a CVE with a solution for that problem. Whenever that happened, well, I said, okay, let us look into that. Let us see whether they have just resolved the problem or not. And when you start to look into that and say, I've gone through that before, I've been here before. So you may remember that in Rooted last year, I told you that Apple changed the servers a week ago, and I kind of freeze the update up until 2025. But it is more restricted in time. That was a countermeasure that they put up in the server side. But when they released iOS 8 in November, they just made it similar to that in March. Okay, the situation nowadays hasn't changed at all. There is a CVE. Okay, so meaning that you can sleep easier because, well, there is a CVE. Then the manufacturer has already fixed it, and no one is concerned about that. No one takes care of that unless there is a researcher who is curious enough and wants to find out whether it has been fixed or not. And I'd like you to reflect upon that, because this is just also a grain of sand of many things that happened around. Okay, I will not talk about that, and today we will talk about something else. Today we will talk about Android. Who's got children here? Well, yes, hackers also have kids. Raise your hand. So it seems that this is not it, but yes, it is. All right. Curiously, last year, many of you with kids, perhaps you've seen this or not. But Frozen, well, this is very much appropriate, okay? This is what I was doing. I was freezing the updates of of the OS. So let us see whether this is related to us or not. And actually, there is a new trailer coming out on the 13th of May, and she's Elsa. Elsa freezes everything. So this is what we do. Now I'd like you to listen to this and to tell me whether you feel identified with it or not, whether there is some hacking into it or not. And also especially the part when you have a vulnerability, a 0-day, and they mention that it is heavy, it is weighty, you don't know what to do with it, it is giving you a headache, and you want to get rid of it, okay? You want to get free of it. No has de sentir, no han de saber, ya que más da. Suéltalo. Suéltalo. El 0-day, me refiero. Right, it's talking about let it go, I cannot stop it. So this is what the lyrics say. There is nothing to lose, that's no problem. It has been discovered already, it has been found out. And never mind in the cold. I'm ready now. I will try to go beyond the limits. I will try to push the limits. There are no rules for me. Let it go. Release it. All right, if you like it, this is just the beginning. So get ready for what comes next. All right, this was the question that was pending last year. So Android, how Android works. We know how iOS works, and now let us see what happens with Android. So I will try to be very educational, so I wouldn't go and tell you, well, I've seen this and that, but I will tell you about the process so that you learn from it. So similar to what Sebas did, okay, I will follow the same approach so that you can research it. Actually, there are 3 books that have been published short ago, one by Pau, by Nikolai, and a more recent one by Jonathan Levin, and none of them actually covers or talks about these over-the-air updates of Android. Only the Nikolai's book talks about that at the level of files. So you all know this. This is the problem of, well, that Android has, is to say, problem of fragmentation. So, well, it takes a long time before everyone gets to have the updated version of Android. So these are statistics from last year. Only less than 2% of people have Android 5, and more than 80% of users have Android 4, which is the KitKat version. I would like to focus on that because apparently this is where the biggest impact is. Well, you've been fooled. You've been told that Android is not updated, and that's why you don't have an updated version. But this is not true. There is a component which is Google Play Services, and I'd like you to remember the GPS concepts. So these are the Google Play Services. This is a component that allows you to update other parts of the system. And Google updates that periodically. Google Android updates that periodically, and it covers all the devices, okay, since the version 2.3 up until the latest Android versions. So if you update, you cannot go back to previous editions, and then when they have also including solutions or a fix for CSS, or so this is a functionality of features that have reached all the Androids, no matter their version. So what Apple tells us about the fragmentation, yes, there is some fragmentation, but this is not entirely true. So this is look and feel of it, Google Play Services, about all these Google applications, and that's it. All right, this is the process that we will be following. So when we do some research into the Android applications, well, you do some research, meaning you search and search and search again and again everything that is being done. So once you have done your search, what do you have to do? You have to look for the Android application, Android architecture, code analysis. There are multiple ways of doing that and multiple tools to do it. So let us go for it. So if you go to settings on your phone, then you go to system settings, and then you may get an update or not. Sometimes you find an update, sometimes you don't. So it means that if you have the 4.4 Android version, the 5 update may be in the market, but you may not get it on your phone. Why is that? Well, some people are very anxious. They cannot help it. They cannot wait. And they say, I want to have the update. And especially those which are very much security concerned. And then, well, some people go and say, okay, why don't you go to Google GPS or GSF, and then you just clear the data, and then so that Android believes that it is fully new or brand new, and then it gives you the update. And then Damoriel comes. He's an Android engineer, and he starts to explain how Android applications work. And it is very interesting because they did it in Reddit, which is the official channel of Android, is Reddit. Well, this is a very strange industry, isn't it? Or perhaps it is me who is a bit updated. Either of the two. So Android says that it is rolled out in phases. They roll it out to 1% of users, and then Over a number of weeks, they roll it out to another percentage of users. I'm talking about the Nexus family of Android, okay? So, if you are lucky enough and your ID falls within the group that receives the update, well, okay, you get the update, and if not, you keep waiting. And notice what he says, okay, and then you will take a look again in 24 hours. I think that's more or less what he says, okay? You continue looking for that update. And then Dan Morrill, also in Reddit, says, oh, actually, those who do not do, please do not do the GSF and do not clear the cache to see whether they get an ID, because you delete the ID and we manage lots of services through that ID. So, and they said, don't do that because that's not the way to do it. So the way to do it is to do an ADB side load, okay, but the ordinary users don't know how to do that. Okay, let us find out about the state of the art and the way that how Google does notifications. Okay, who is the hacker in Frozen? Any idea? It is not the rhino, it's not the deer, sorry, Roman, but you are close. Okay, that's his character. So why do we do this? Why does this happen? Why this and why that? And sometimes, yes, we are very much of dreamers. We dream of Apple fixing the vulnerability. We dream of aviation fixing safety and security. So we just dream of that day when someone listens to us and fixes problems for us. Oh, you want to kiss me on my nose? So, was it Elsa who made you? Yes, it was she. Do you know where she is? Yes, I do. Can you show us the way? How does it work? Hold on, Sven. Let me focus on that. I'll tell you why. We need her to bring summer to us. And they say, don't ask me why, but I've always loved the idea of summer, sun shining, warm things. Serious? I'm sure you heard this many times before. I don't. And why this snowman likes summer? I'm not going to do any spoilers here, but the hacker in this film wins at the end of the film. Who has heard that Android is an OS, open source OS, based on Linux? Yes and no. That's the answer. It is open source, but now Google is including quite a lot of closed code in this GPS that we have talked about. It includes all the capacity to authenticate yourself in all the Google services, Drive, My, Gmail, all the APIs associated to those components. I'm not talking about the Play Store. I'm not talking about Google Play. It is an added set of services that has been added to Google services. So there are many details in this presentation. I'm not going to go through all of them now. So there have been several versions of the GPS of this module. Sometimes we get security features, and in other versions they do not say anything. But it is interesting. Notice the May 2014 version. No one explained you how this is integrated in the system. If you want to know more, you have to look into that. And who do you think takes care of updating this system? I mean, which component of Android takes care of updating the system? So if I go and take a look at that through settings, well, you could think that the app that is associated to settings could do that, could be a good candidate. But no, you are wrong. It's this one, the GSF. But only if you do not have a Google Play Services version above 4.4, because after 4.4 version, the GPS does that, okay? So after version 4.4, GPS does the updating. And how can we see that? Well, when you go into Android, you start to take a look at all the components. You will see that in the past, GSP did a number of services, updated screen, and then a check-in services. And what I'm telling you now, after version 4.4, but not the 4.4 Android version, but the 4.4 GPS version, it is GSP who does the update. So if I launch the task, I can see that there are two different processes, but we prefer to look at that in greater detail. Who will help us obtain that information? Those of you who played a bit more with it, who's that? Good, Logcat. Logcat. Either this or that. Very easy. So you connect your device, you clean Logcat with -C, you launch the setting campaign, you launch the app or the open window, and then you see the Logcat content. It tells you who it is. So version below 4.4, and then activity comes from GSP, and when it is greater, the activity comes from GMS. GMS, which is Google Mobile Services, for us is the same, in this presentation, is the same as GSP. That is to say, the same component. GSP is the same component as GMS. So now we know who does the update. So then we will go deeper into these components, but now from the network viewpoint, from the traffic viewpoint, we really want to see how it asks for an update. Who knows what the Google protocol buffers are? Who has used them? Who has used them in any security application or pen test? We are not talking about CTF here. Okay. Nearly no one has used it. This is impressive. Okay, I will I will move away from this presentation for 15 minutes. Okay, we will just do the trip and come back. What is this? Well, this is very simple because this is an interchange binary format, data interchange binary format. It has very specific characteristics, primarily performance and extensibility. That means that I can send out data very quickly because they take up very little space. They say that it is like XML, but smaller, faster, and more simple. Here we are talking about serializing. So it means that I have a client that has to talk to a web application, has to send out data, and because data and text vary a lot, then it converts it into this binary format, sends it out through the network, destination receives it, and deserializes it. Plain, easy, simple. So for you to have a feel, Google gives you components so that your applications is made with C++ or Java can handle this data. Important, in September, there are 48 different messages defined in the Google code with 12,000 proto files, definition files. It looks like Google is using it quite a lot. And then also, well, there are also some other companies that use it in their applications. So how does it work? You can create a proto file, a definition file. It's a file that says, I'm going to have this type of messages for this type of data, these full strings or whatever. So depending on what I exchange between the client and the server, and then I take the compiler of proto buffer, which is proto C. This does the serializing process. Text is converted into binary format and then it is sent out. It gives you capacity to read and write this data, send them in the network, receive them, and deserialize them. An example. This is a proto file for definition, where we have the assessments for the rooted conference with a string, which is the name of your presentation, then the score that you give the presentation, then a comment or observations, and then it may also reference other objects or other type of data. For instance, the objective, which is, I don't know, for instance, achieving a score of 10, okay? Any objective. Okay. How do you see that in the cable? Because when you analyze it from the viewpoint of security, just by capturing data, we already see, well, we see the binary. So this message or data definition that we have in our proto file, it finishes in binary. That is to say, invariants, which are numbers on 128 base. And then you just send something through the cable and then you get what you expect. Each field has an identifier. Then field 1 of the second. That goes through the cable. So here it tells me information about my tag and type that I am, whether I am an integer, an object, or a string. What have we lost out? Well, we have lost the name of the field by sending it through the network. So this is the name or the score or the comment. So how is this processed at the destination? Well, because it also has the proto file, it receives the binary, it knows the proto that needs to use to process, and it knows the field 1 of type string was the name, that the type 2 of the integer type was the score. Simple. Okay, and it looks like that. Pure binary, this is what comes here, and then this is converted into different fields in text mode. So far, so good. When you have to analyze this from the technical viewpoint, often to do proxy, man in the middle, intercept traffic, we do BERT for both mobile and web applications. There had been masking extensions, okay, but I cannot pronounce his surname for burp. Now there is a kind of a market for complements, fostering other burp to have other capacities. There was a decoder of protocol messages and you can use it. So when you use it, you can see that it doesn't fully work. And these are the type of requests that you get from Android. So it does post requests, type HTTP, and in GSF, the header of the user agent says that uses this, that uses gzip, okay? And GPS doesn't say that it uses it, but actually uses gzip. So before, without gzip, it used 7 bytes, and now it uses 27 bytes because it is using gzip. So it is sending out the same thing. So in the latest versions, we are using 20 bytes more just from compression. So there are millions of Android servers sending that on a daily basis, so they are spending lots of bits per day. So when you try to use the extension, it doesn't work. Why do you think it doesn't work? When is it that burp says, oh, this is a protocol buffer message and I have to decode it? Why burp does it? What takes as its basis to do it? It does that based on based on the header. So it says content type. It says, oh, this is an HTML or this is a protobuf. Yes, that's it. As you can see here, well, not here.
Bueno, está en ello. A ver si responde. En definitiva, en función de la cabecera content type, ¿vale? Pues veremos que es de un tipo...
On the definition of the header, we will see whether it is one type or another. So what happens here? Well, the content type that I had, the default extension, doesn't fit what Google and Android are setting out. So therefore, we need to make a small modification, a small change. Okay, so this is an example. You can see now content type is protobuffer, and now in the default extension it was protobuf. Because it is not fitting, it doesn't match it. Now you, after making the change, it doesn't work either. Why do you think it doesn't work this time? When Roman says that the length is different, no, the length this time is the same. So it is not the content length. It is about other property that we've seen before. Okay, I go back. What is the other property that I discussed that perhaps could have a property that was not included in the extension? Yes, the gzip. And yes, the extension did not consider that protobuf messages were compressed or were zipped because it is a binary protocol minimizing the information, but still it is compressed, it is zipped. Okay, you will have to change the extension for it to handle the compression. Even if the bulk compression has the capacity to do it, doesn't apply in protobuffer. And despite that, it still doesn't work. So there are other things that I have to change in that extension to make it operational. What do I want to say with all that? What do I mean? So in our industry, we are much used to having free tools and that these free tools work, but you need to collaborate. If someone develops a tool that works nowadays, it is not updating it because it doesn't have any money or time to sustain it. And then someone has to fix it, okay? That's what I mean with all that. We will discuss the tool later on, but this is what we will see. They fail when it comes to processing the protobuffers, so they have lots of problems, but then when we make all those changes, things are fixed. The other elements that we must mention are the proto-verb messages. So that is to say, they let me interpret the file so that I can see that different fields have different content. So first of all, you do a field check, and then you can see that you start using them, okay? So this is how these protofiles look like. I receive in the traffic for 120, then I go to definition of proto, and it tells me that Android check-in requests have a field 4 and then a field 20, which stands for the fragment. The 4 also includes another object, which is field 1, and it also has another field 1 in it, which is string ID. Okay, we are processing the different parts here. When we load the proto files through burp, we can make burp showing us the content, showing us the meaning. So if this comes back to life, I will show you live, and if not, right button, I want to load the proto file, you choose your proto file, and then you move from having this to having this. And here you see the names of the fields, and then you understand, well, what you are start getting. So you may have or make one or several proto files, and at the end you deserialize data. All in all, what you get is, well, at the end you know just data that you are getting from this dark binary file that you get. And if I hadn't found it by looking the proto files, what can I do? So it seems that outside Google this has not been used very much, where binary when binary files were extracted, and then another one that I found later on that had to do with APKs. They did a proof of concept, but for a very small APK. The other option that we have is look into the code. Didn't I say that these check-ins are generated by Google Play Services, which is an Android component? Okay, we take out the APK of this component and we take a look at that, or the previous version, which was GSF. So if we take a look at the code of these components, we can see references to proto, to processing of proto files, and also you'll see that they have a function or that they have a definition in check-in as they are defined as proto files, where there is a function that is to say that we'll convert it, and now we get our numbers. Numbers 1, 2, 3. Can you remember the 4? It was known as checking in the request. The name of it was checking. So this is the checking function, and then it allows the other Android checking proto. And then if you continue and continue, then your code handles those messages and eventually codes them. You have them all there, and this will allow you to reconstruct the file, the definition file. And now, notice a small change in the latest versions of Google Play Services. I didn't tell you that it was closed code, that it is no longer the Android open source that we thought of. Okay, what is the first thing that Google is going to do? Okay, this is Java, this is an Android APK, and then we have functions such as AAA, AB, AB, all the variables are ABC, and all the functions are ABC, and this looks so beautiful.
You're going to try to compile it, all of this, but we want to confront this in GF version, the previous one. This was not like this. What can we do? Can we use the former ancient versions or releases which are not obfuscated? We have to confront it. This is the way, the better. What was it for? We can proto-buff websites, database of exchanging files, and of course, web app pen test research, mobile apps pen test and research, Google security reward programs, back bounty, web apps and mobile apps as of January 2015. So this would be super cool for you to participate in the rewards, of course. What do we need? We need something to decofy protobuf. And do you want it? Don't you want it? What do you want? You wanna? No? Yes? Let's go to the GitHub from Dynasect, github.com, Dynasect. So you can play around with this thing on this extension, on this address, github.dynasect. The more, the merrier, as we say in English. The more participants, the better for all of us. So let's participate. Let's meddling around this. The GPR's component. Let's go back to the updates. Let's understand how we have to analyze the traffic. I want to see the request coming from the Android, and Google is telling me no, there is a modern and a good update, latest release. So they are doing certificate pinning. You take the Android, you load they are doing certificate pinning, and when you go to all of these hardcore over there inside the code, if you see the network trace on this package, you can see, okay, the client says, you are not giving me the certificate, I'm waiting for period, this is the end, we don't connect over here. So I devoted some hours on it. I talked with some people, analyzers of Android. Have you tried to destroy, to break certificate pinning on Android by using expose with another little model? As of today, it seems to be possible to break. It's a new challenge for all of us. So we can chase Google Play Service latest PIN certificate. That's a fact. So let's see if we can attack with the man in the middle from the red against the Androids. The Androids updates. If the certificate pin is well done, I cannot do so. It's just out of curiosity. Oh, it's a scratch at my curiosity. Let's see how it works. As far as I can reach, there's GP native libraries on JPE. Inside, you can see the sample GPS. It's like GSM. These Bitcoin script and wrapper are the points where we can find the certificate with a big likelihood of getting to the nitty-gritty part of the job. The other approximation we can do is because from a network viewpoint we cannot make a lot of attacks, so there is some limitations. So the other way of analyzing this is by obtaining the APK files of these modules. How can we get it? Principally, the very first command we can use the package management. You listed the list of package. You look for the APK corresponding to GSA. You don't need to be a root on the phone. If you know the package, the little package dumping the packet manager, we get here the APK and we get the 1, 2, 3 corresponding to the other module, and we can get TMS, DSMF, and GPAs. You get the code to have a look at it. So this is normal process. Let's get the guts out of it, and we can find what you can see this on screen. ABC functions with little meaning, especially in the latest versions. What can we do over here? You can look for strings of or object-based reference, that something that are legible because we have the key manager and all these things around there that guide you through the right way. For certain functions, you can see on screen the compilation phase with the JDGV. I advise you to use free compilers beside the commercial ones like JDX. As you can see on screen on this function, it can get into the guts of the whole thing and do functions to deobfuscate the code that Google is not interested in show us. When you get into this code, I don't want to get you bored about this. You can find that it seems that for certain cases the update process is blocked after this huge amount of milliseconds, which are 48 hours. Perhaps the Google engineer which says every 24 hours, perhaps it's 48. In accordance with the code we have shown, and we could get extracted more details. With this in our hands, what else is left for us? We have to check. We need to check the APKs inside the network traffic, the updates package of when there is Mr. Google, when there is an update, you get a new Android update. There's a new zip file. So what's inside? So these zip files well described on Nikolai's book. I want you to understand it. What Android does is to connect to a zip file recorded on hash cache, the cache partition, and verifies whether it's just correctly signed with the public key certificate associated with the private key only owned by Google, which is in certain security.zip, and with this is verified. Is it well done? It does two verifications. One, I downloaded it and I verified what I downloaded is correct. Now that the update is working, I force the device into working from the recovery image, and from then on I do my recovery update activities. After recovery is launched, is once verified with the idea that I don't sneak through our recovery, so it seems that is well thought of. What format does this zip have? This zip is a slightly modified zip in the final part with a comment. They put a signature along with a comment for them to verify. In this blog, with the a slight variation I did, you can see the lookalike, you can verify if it's working or not. Very, very briefly, I will show you. You can get the verification of the zip with the certificate on the Lotus there, which is the system's which is verified. This is the script. Invite, show, and take from this final comment from the zip the signature and the part which has been signed, and with the tool we compared, we verify with the zip concept with OpenSSL. We compared this signature with the signed part, and with the certificate it says, okay, it's the correct verification, is signed with this password, and this is stored in cache. And the moment is launched from recovery, there's a series of scripts of verification which verify the SA's signatures from the files to be substituted coincide with the previous ones, and there is a process ongoing of signatures. This looks very, very well. So for the very first time, we're going to play the role of Anna. You get so excited and emoted. You get emotional because the defensive part for the first time in many years, something is well done, something is very well being born. Let's watch it on screen. For the first time, she is singing this music. I love this music. For the very first time in many years, there's something in my inside. For the very first time in many years, my heart is throbbing and beating very, very quickly. I'm gonna get a phone to do the update process. When we go to the update screen and you check updates, imagine you get an update at 0.5, you are on 4.53, and you get the 4.4 release for your Nexus 7 or 5, and you say to the, I have loaded, and let's move forward. So if we press download it, let's see how can we look it on screen. I think I will stop on this screen and make some zooms. I will launch a tool which is Languid and Bulb. How can you see it? Can you see this request to undersclientsgoogle.com from Android? What's the protocol use? What's the protocol we use for this? Which HTTP? Which CL? You said no, that's not possible. You said to yourself, I'm gonna leave this request gone and gone. A little bit sorry, this is going out of purpose. So let's leave this request gone. Walk by. I'm pointing out good my tool. Pay attention to what my tool is doing here. My gosh, you are pointing at HTTP. You are asking for the 444, but I'm going to give you the 443. Oh, you may like it. In a very automatic way, because in user A, you said to me, I'm Nexus 5 with 443 with this compiling version. I'm going to a table. You are Nexus 5 443, and you are asking me the 444. I'm going for 443. Period. So this request is seen very tinily, in a very small way. This request gives two more redirections, which HTTP with a loud cloud to serve the OTA updates. You can see that you are downloading the updates. Which one is being downloaded? The one I say, and I manipulate it in the middle. This guy over here has the 443. He has seen the 444, which is the one he wants to update to. And now you can see very long message group, some megas, and now it's downloading it and it's processing this download. to put it forward, to advance it, let's go over it and up to more or less, no, and up to 2:15, where he downloaded totally, because groupie here is slow, is very lazy. Okay, this serves well for us. Let's see this one. Let's see this part. Given the fact we had some trouble over here, so I will show this one. Can you see there are check-in requests? This is the lookalike, the appearance of check-in requests with this binary we cannot see properly. Since I got the right extension, there is a protobot latch we are going to use when we access this latch. The message with the text, but we don't have the names of the fields, which was left for us. So let's see if I can maximize it for you to see it much better. The proto load, I select my file.proto. Oops, I'm selecting it. And now I can deserialize depending on the types of this proto file, and I get the names, which is what I was looking to. This concatenate with the previous thing. I should wrap it over here, but here is finished updating with this Android. What do you think of what is going on here? I put the previous version release, downloaded and verified, because I'm saying is signed with the hotel set from Google. So I'm touching, I'm saying install, it is counting in 10 seconds, reinstall, relaunch from the recovery partition, which was I commented before, and you see that the device is started up. So it seems that for the time being it's not complaining, so it's at launching from recovery, installing this system, the component, the update OTA just arrived. Let's pay attention to what release, what version this device is on. Is on 4.4.3. My gosh.
Vale, o sea que todo lo anterior...
So far, so good. The previous things were very good, but the detailed HTTP is kind of problematic. Last year, there is a tool. Now you can understand. I don't have to explain this to you why I invoked and named this tool Iliorian. What are you going to talk about? Iliorian tool. It's a jokey thing, fucking thing. I have in this year of updates, that's what it stands for. On the videos is proxy because it's the internal name, and this very year this tool, which is what we're modifying this, is being called by me, as you can see on screen, helados, which in English means ice cream, which stands for today we freeze the OA's updates. Weaponman in the middle, developed by Python. This is automatic. As I said before, the agent user gives me so many details about what device you are, on what version you are, and the ATPPO version says me from one version to one version I want to go, and I manipulate the one I want to live over there. The very interesting part and thing of all of this, one question you may be wondering or posing yourself was the ones you posed yourself last year. What's the question? May I do downgrades until any or up to any version possible? I will show some example. A device on 4.4.3 from 4.4.4, and I will tell you go down to 4.4.2, coming 4.4 is the update to 4.4.2, and it does not work. We can see it now very quickly on this video on screen. I will explain to you why this does not work, because Android 4.4 is finishing the process of downloading with the very same scenario we have seen before. Is verified and is correct, and verification is signed and is correct. This reinitiates the whole device, but when it's reinitialized in recovery mode and it moves to execute the scripts of update of OTA8 from Android, you're gonna see, and I will show now, that it has the scripts to checks which says to you this is my version I am not right now, or is the future version, but not in former version, so I cannot go down so much, because the files back at that time are completely changed and differentiated, so they cannot apply the update. So it has some verifications. It's launched on recovery. It is going to try to install the system update with the Android from, you can see over there, and I generate a mistake on that verification, so we cannot go further down here. It's impossible, because the scripts checked the two of them, and not only the next one, and didn't have done the verification. If you told me it's the 444, don't send me back where I am. I don't know the design details of why they did things like it, but I don't find the sense of it. I can tell two things about this. Given the fact we can manipulate partially the updates, I can leave you on the very same version, because you pay attention to what happens here. I left you frozen on this version with Nexus 5 instead of Nexus 7. As you can see on screen, this is version 444. Here I attacked with the 01. You can see it's as updated, but I wanted to see that there are some limitations where I update, send the check-in request, analyze with protobus. I touch here, I press update, and it says, but you updated, my friend, because these internal components of 48 hours and other mechanisms of temporization will tell you the update will come at a certain moment in the next future, but you did it before. So I'm not intercepting HTTPS where they did the checks is gone, and I leave it this way. More distant, I now pushing the button update. You can see HTTPS traffic over there, but it does not receiving updates because it's not immediate, and there are some periods over there where there is not updates. So this allows us to identify device which is vulnerable, that sees updates that we leave it frozen in the current version. We exploit vulnerabilities of all kind. This is a bullshit I uploaded on Twitter regarding HTTPC, because I put it because this vulnerability is being researched recently, and I saw what versions of CPD had Android. This is vulnerable on the Linux world. I contacted Android and told me yes, the lollipop was fixed. Did you know this? Nobody did. Nobody knew this on this planet that lollipop was fixed, because all this information is hidden. There is not an official list where we are told this Android version solves all these thousands and thousands mistakes for the security responsible people, even dressed up as ducks, can take in well-based and informed decision about how to protect their environment properly. This should be the habitual, normal procedure right now. Another attack we could make regarding the version 501, I will lead you to another 501 version, because for Nexus 5 there had been 3 versions or releases of 501, because Google had some trouble with the function of these versions. So I can get you in the bad version of service denial, because your phone number does not work properly from now on. If you want to do it in a serious way, check my Twitter, because yesterday I retweeted Seba's tweet from a previous searcher, because there is a pair of exploits circulating through GitHub where you can take Android's 444 into router, and I don't let you go to Lollipop, and we can exploit these vulnerabilities. So there are a huge myriad of options for you guys. Sorry, I wanted my mouse to take this, and let's move on to the solutions and conclusions. What can we do? How can we cope with all of these solutions? What do you think is the right solution for all of this?
Pero es que no lo entienden, ¿vale? Está en mi apellido, ¿vale? Siles.
The solution is on my last name, on my surname, Siles. The S is from my surname. You have to use the S from C, which in English means yes. So we are laying stress upon the SS HTTPS iOS, 800 euros devices, Android, Googles, which are very expensive as well, millions and millions of euros distributed. We cannot use this technology in the proper way when we're paying so much for it. So we can use the Spanish proverbs, sayings in Spanish language. We're talking about mobile phones, but what is going to happen in the future, in the Internet of Things, if Apple, iOS and Android have these weaknesses, weak points or vulnerabilities, what your thermostat, refrigerator or intelligent bus will be suffering regarding residential mobility and corporate mobility in the next coming future. So in Spanish there is a proverb which says, when the technology of your neighbor is your sim are at risk, update your own technologies. When the technologies of your neighbor are at risk, put your own technologies to be updated. So if we want to keep our technologies secure, so something bad can happen. Somebody can modify our vulnerabilities. From a technical viewpoint, we have two elements. When I check for a new update, and when I download it and install it. When I check for an update, I know what I have to do. First, I have to trust the authentication is properly encrypted, that I'm connecting to the right guy with certificate opinion, and it has to work properly in all of my communications, not only in some, but in all. When I'm downloading the content, I need to check and verify the integrity. I have to verify that the times, references, I'm receiving the right things at the right moment with multiple time references, and I have to register what is the release version I saw the 444 for the next step. So I can even get in anti-denial service mechanisms if I didn't check. If I'm man in the middle, I don't let you reach the service, but there could be a smart device for 1 hour, 1 month, is in our personal selections and our personal level of security. If I don't connect it to this, I'm going to notify the user of what's going on. I'm going to notify the user of something wrong. One is check. I have the part of downloading and applying updates. I have to trust the communication and authenticate with the right person through certificate PIN. I'm going to verify that what I'm downloading is the correct thing within the time frame which is correct. This is the step that Android skipped. I'm gonna verify with the checking that if I saw previously 444, they are giving me 444 and not 443, because otherwise I would have been manipulated. This is an if in the process of verification and update. This is it. I verify the content of the app. I verify that everything is properly signed. And once again, anti-service denied. If I saw an update but I couldn't download it in such a time, I'm going to report this issue to the user. This is it. This seems simple, but I have to be repetitive because many people don't do so. Thank you, my friends. Thank you, my collaborators, for having presented my presentation. Thank you for your support to research on this. And now I would like to open a round of questions. So should you be interested in asking me questions, raise your hands. Thank you.
¿Queréis un regreso al futuro 3?
Do you want Return to Future 3? I hope you want return to the future. You can contact me here.
Si quieres un regreso al futuro 3, para cuando...
When I have a Future 3 return for when Windows Phone. Windows Phone is another option, or BlackBerry. These are the four main in the market. What are the generalized problem here? Researchers are focused on Android and iOS because they compare 90%. They account for 90% of the market. BlackBerry accounts for 5%, and Windows Phone is like 2% of the market. So the very truth is, Windows Phone is like a black box. There is not interest from the security committee on doing research on how Windows Phone is functioning. Let's do it. It's my bet. I urge you to do so. I did this because last year when I did iOS presentation for you guys in Rooted Can, because okay, let's see if somebody check Android and present talk here. Nobody dared to move their ass on it. I'm so finally curious, so I decided to do this investigation and research on my own. So I urge you to do some research on Windows Phone for next year, Congress. Any more questions, please? Raise your hands.
Yo tengo una muy rápida. ¿Es necesario?
Is there any way for you to oblige from outside device to update? As far as I've seen, in the case of Android, there's no possibility to force this. There may be a likelihood for this. We didn't see many other parts of the research, but this check-in request, if you remember well, it gives back to us it starts OK1 with this. I think, my understanding, that this is the beacon which is sending thing with whom Google is publishing a statistic. 10% is having the version 5, and the response on the second field protobuffer, there is a timestamp, and I saw code within the APKs. We are doing verifications with the timestamp when a lot from the time and so on, and do this, do that, which it means that very likely if you modify the timestamp, you may force, or you may be capable to force the device. I have indicia that this is feasible. I'm visualizing this scenario. I put many things. I do BTM. I load 25 versions of Android. I release it with the name rooted free Wi-Fi, and I'm devoted to do funny things. But there is a nuance, is Roman, which is much better. Because let's suppose that you can do so, but you don't have to download the WDDT, these hundreds of OTA versions, what they have on others. They don't have one single file. They only have the redirection. I don't have 400 downloaded megas of updates. It's a simple pointer table which says if you are this and you are asking me, you are the user, you are this. I'm giving you this 10 mappings for Nexus 7, Nexus 5, and this is it. Any more questions over here? Hello. You had been talking about updates on phones. I want to ask you if this collide a good performance of phone with the updates, security updates. Once because manufacturers force you to change your phone every year. There should be a way to bypass this. Should you not like it, and what is implicit inside. It's a fucking shame. It's absolutely irresponsible for them. Neither is the future nor the past. We differentiated functionality patches and security patches, and you selected on mobile phone world. This does not exist. On Android case, even though they tell us we had fragmentation, but it's slightly better because Google looked for this strategy with the Google Play services. It turns out that I can update critical components of the system and only this, and the rest no. You're telling me because my phone is not running very quickly on iPod, so I want to stay on KitKat, but I want to be protected from a security viewpoint. You can do it, this especially with Google Play service. On iOS case, there is some problem because the big problem is a new version of iOS, completely new, which makes you change the operating system totally with other functionalities. This should be selective.
¿Más? ¿Sí?
Hola.
Hello, very first thing, my congratulations for a wonderful presentation. I did like it. I understand this research has been done with stuff versions. What happens with the remaining phones with cook or pre-cooked versions? It makes no sense to check it. It makes no sense to check these versions, the other versions. Like I said before, and I want to make a nuance. If I have the version from a manufacturer, put yours of the ATC Samsung, they have their own mechanisms. You know, this lets us the fragmentation, but then there's a new Android version until it's incorporated, or the phone providers. It took us a long time. This is a real chaos. I want to check it on the stocks. I had been recommending for a long time when people say to me to have this updated, take Google's, because immediately you don't have any intermediaries, no middleman. The moment there is a new release, you go there. That's the objective for us to see the best of the cases, how good or bad it was. In the remaining cases, it can be worse. So I cyanogen pre-cooked. I didn't check pre-cooked things or cooked things. So far, so good. This is it. Thank you.